up, everybody? Welcome back to SwitchTalk, the perfectly pocket-sized podcast where we cover the latest and greatest games that come to the Nintendo Switch, the hybrid console that has stolen our hearts and minds. Welcome back to it. We try to keep it to 30 minutes or less because I don't want to take up too much of your time. That's not right. That's not right at all. But I do want to give you some perspective on the latest games that come to the Switch. It's very good to do that. We'd like to give you 3 perspectives even, but today we are down from 3 hosts to 2. I am joined by my illustrious co-host, David Jones. David Jones, say hi to the people.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Clay cannot be here with us. Clay Howard is absent. We are marking down his permanent record, and he will be back next week. Happy holidays to everybody. Again, it was Labor Day just recently. By the time you're hearing this, we're all in the mood to game. And I was like, you know what? We're going to pick a good one for our next episode. And finally, it was Antonio's turn. He's like, come on, we're going to give him a chance. David and Clay were so nice to me and said, you know what? Go ahead and pick it. What's it going to be? And I said, you know what? This game called The VideoKid looks pretty cool. And I regret that decision. Long story short, spoiler alert, the game that we're discussing is The VideoKid from publisher Chorus Worldwide Games and developer VideoKid Games Limited. Now that's a warning sign right there when you have the developer name the same as the actual game name. Probably it's one of their first titles, and yeah, you can kind of tell. So we're going to break it all down for you again in 30 minutes or less. David, The VideoKid, I think there's a subtitle, 80s edition. It was only $5. It looked great based on the art style. It's like this blocky, crossy road, like that Pokemon game that just came out. I forget the name of it. I love it. The Pokemon game that looks like blocks.
Is it
anyway,
Pokemon Quest or something?
Pokemon Quest, right? So it's this blocky art style that, like, you can tell what everything is, but it's still blocks. And again, it being the 80s, you know I'm a big fan. The actual character that you play as is a video cassette delivery boy on a skateboard riding down the street. So it's a PaperBoy-ish type game, and I haven't seen one of those in a long time. So I was like, all right, I could go for a PaperBoy inspired game. That seems great. The 80s look cool. The main character is supposed to be like Marty McFly from Back to the Future. That's what it's all advertised as. So let's start with just the breakdown really quick. The official info on the Nintendo eShop says, skate your way to Jessica with just 1 life, but don't forget to deliver those videos. It's the 1980s. The kid needed to earn some cash to take his girlfriend out. So by delivering pirate videotapes to his customers and staying one step in front of the cops, he quickly became the VideoKid. It says the VideoKid pays homage to the 1980s and the classic video games of that era, harking back to the simpler time of pure gameplay. Take control of the VideoKid as he hurls videos through mailboxes, windows, and of his customers to earn cash, dodge civilians, jump and grind cars, and avoid the neighborhood cops to stay alive. But this is no ordinary street. You may also encounter strangely familiar characters from your past. How many will you spot? Now, David, before I get to you, I just want to say that Josh Brandt of the Nintendo Village is reviewing this game. So we will get a healthy, full review, third perspective from him. He does a great job. Go to the nintendovillage.com and you can check out his review of the VideoKid. Thank you very much, Josh. We look forward to hearing what your thoughts are, so we can kind of compare and contrast. Unfortunately, David, it looks like we're on the same page, though. Why don't you tell the people, try to start with what you like about the game, if you can.
Okay, yeah, I'll even defend it a little bit.
Yeah!
Yeah. So I think if you look at the fact that this game is priced at $5, like that's a really good deal for this game. We've played a bunch of other $5 games in the $5 holler episodes, and I think I do actually like this game better than most of the other $5 games we've done. Mm-hmm. There is a lot of charm to it. There's all these sort of Minecraft-style versions of all these famous 80s characters around the levels. It's basically like PaperBoy. Kind of PaperBoy meets Minecraft art style with kind of a like I know this is not an endless runner, but it kind of feels like an endless runner, and that's probably going to get into some of the problems with this game. It is very addicting, and I did play it way more than I thought I was going to, just because I really wanted to beat the first level, which is kind of getting into the problems. So I'm just going to go into the problems. This game is really
Do
hard.
it. You do it. Yes, agreed. Very
Yeah,
difficult game.
it's like I know it's not really marketed as an endless runner, but it almost kind of feels like something like that because I mean you have the amount of distance at the top of the screen. There is a way to beat it, but neither one of us was able to do that. But it has that kind of sort of super difficult hook that a lot of endless runners have, where they're designed to mainly be sort of high score mobile games, and that's kind of the difficulty curve it feels like, because you keep doing the same thing over and over again just to get the most distance. And it doesn't feel like a game that has, even though it supposedly does, it doesn't feel like a game that has levels or segments, because those type of games usually make the introduction level easy enough to beat.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I imagine if we had really put in a lot of time, we probably could have got it done. But I don't know. Like I at this point in my life, it's hard for me to dedicate the amount of time it would take to get good at a game like this, to progress through it.
Yeah.
Like, this is like some NES title, like back in the day when we only had like one game. Then we could it's like we're playing like Battletoads or something, when you could just play that one game and perfect it. And at this point in my life, I don't feel like that's the type of game that's for me. If you really, really are someone who likes crushing difficulty and you want to just pick up this one classic game, play it to you can get good at it and just completely decimate it. Maybe it's for you, but
I
feel
totally
like
agree.
better titles that fit into that category as well. So
It's funny you bring that up because there's a lot of discussion out there about how much time are you going to give a game, to give a fair shake. With this show, with SwitchTalk, we really try to get in there and get a great. We may not beat the games, roll credits on things, especially like this, but we want to give it a fair shake, and that's exactly what we were trying to do. So that's why I was reaching out to Clay, who actually has played the game, though he's not on the show, and you, and I, was trying to give it 100 attempts to try to get just past the first level, and I couldn't. And I think that the crux of why it's such a disappointment is that there's a difference between a game being fairly challenging and then just difficult because you have cheap deaths. And I believe that that's kind of what goes on here. Getting back to the positives, just like you, as you go down the street, you're seeing tons of 80s cameos from movies and games. You have the Ninja Turtles in there. You have like the Care Bears. You have so many things, and it's always hitting you something new to look at as you travel, which is great. Because if it wasn't that animated and that interesting visually, I wouldn't even have given it that many attempts. Because as you progress down the street, trying to meet your girlfriend, again, the story's super thin, but what are you going to do? It doesn't have to be super thick. But as you go down, there was nothing pulling me forward besides the visuals. Now, as you earn a higher score, you earn cash to unlock things, which is just a skin for your character, as well as additional tricks that you can do. As far as I know, when you're grinding on something and you're able to hit the D-pad left or right, you can do a trick and you can unlock new tricks. Now, I did this and I guess I noticed a little bit more movement to the character. He would spin a little, but it wasn't super mind-blowing, and I guess that helps you get a higher score and earn even more cash. But the skins that you unlock, I think I saw Michael Jackson in there. I unlocked the Cookie Monster. The skins are like, again, just if you've ever played Crossy Road or anything like that, these games where it's kind of like an endless runner, you unlock something and it just changes your avatar, and it's a nice little carrot to the stick, but because of how frustrating it is to make a run and how similar it is to make a run, I found it way too monotonous to keep going. So as you go down, the scene will change. I'm not sure what the formula is here, but you're not always seeing the same cameos and the same obstacles and same vehicles that you're trying to dodge and everything like that. But it changes up slightly. We can't figure out between the three of us when this is exactly changing. I know that the hazards that caught me off guard changed, and I'm not sure why they're changing. So there, like I mentioned, there's some cheap deaths in there, which is why we haven't been able to beat the first full level. It's a decently long run, but you go into the sewer sometimes instead of the street. And this one time, I didn't understand after about 5 attempts because everything's moving so fast. Once you die, you have to be like, okay, what do I remember from the last 2 seconds that I have to do differently next time? So I had to hit a switch in the sewers. Did you encounter that problem or that big obstacle?
The place that I've always been, my farthest runs that I've been dying was in the sewer, but it was a Splinter from the Ninja Turtles, which just kept cracking me.
Exactly. Yeah. It was different for me, so it started with me with this train coming and the switch I had to hit. And then later on I got the Splinter. So the game is warping somewhere. And it's like I didn't understand what to do, and then it makes it difficult. But as you get very far into the game, toward the end of the block, there's something happens where a car pulls up next to you and they're throwing bombs, and I couldn't figure out how to dodge or get away from this. Mind you, again, this has taken hours to get to the end of this little short game. It's level 1. Like, come on, guys. I was talking to David about playtesting. Like, if your game has a good 80s hook, you got great cameos in there, it's decently fun, you know, the Paperboy, skateboarding, breaking things with video cassettes is going well. Let up a little bit on the hazards and maybe make the first, level passable. Between the three of us, we haven't. I'm very much looking forward to Josh.
Do we know for a fact that there's other levels?
I'm looking at like the advertisements, for instance, like online, and I purposely try not to like spoil myself by looking at other reviews or lengthy videos going in, so I haven't checked. But they don't even advertise a second level, because in Paperboy things change up dramatically visually.
Right. So
and
I know
hazards.
that's just something I was thinking about. Maybe it's so hard because that's the game.
Oh, good God, I hope
like
not.
You're supposed to beat it all in one run.
I'm sure there's 8-10 levels in this thing. I mean, that's kind of where my mind's going, at least. So, yeah, I don't know. The best part of the game, again, is what it has going on visually. Once you go down the road and you're doing the hazards, there's like a pattern, and you can kind of understand, okay, like, David, you say you stood on the street side, on the sidewalk side, as opposed to the 2 street lanes most of the time.
I found that I seem to have the longest runs when I stick to the sidewalk as much as possible. The most right-hand lane is a death trap, though, because you don't get enough chance to see the cars coming behind you and they move too fast.
Yep.
Like, I would just get mowed over there. So I basically try to alternate between the sidewalk, the left-hand street, and if both are too dangerous, then I'll quickly dart to the most right-hand lane, and then dart back. I found that worked the best for me.
I think that another missed opportunity was the audio. I like chiptune, bit music, and it's kind of that, but nothing special. And I didn't notice a lot of variation in there. If you could unlock different tracks, that'd be nice. But again, in a game where you're making, 3-4 minute runs, you got to start over and over and over. Because that's coupled with the fact that we can't get past the first main level. It's just there's nothing shifting there. So I turned it down. Got annoying after a while. The sound effects, even that, I don't think are another kind of missed opportunity. Nothing felt exceptionally. Sometimes in a game, the start screen or, like the main sound effect of maybe like crashing a window with a cassette or some type of hook of the game would like stand out to me, and I'd be like, man, I'm playing for just that.
Speaking of the sound, I don't know if this was intentional, but didn't the audio clips just sound really poor?
Yeah.
Like the quality? Like, I don't know if they were going for an aesthetic there, but it was weird because if they were going for, like, the 8-bit, there shouldn't really be voices at all. But instead, there was just kind of like this, like, hyper-compressed, like early PC, early like PlayStation, when voices were just starting to get introduced in games, kind of voices going on, which I
Yeah.
thought was kind of weird.
That's exactly what it has to be. Something like that. I just don't understand. There's so much potential here. Again, you feel bad when you try to recommend a game and have a feeling about, you know what, I think this is going to be good. It's at a good price point. It looks cool, but then it's just not giving you anything to work with. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, get good if you can't get past the first level of any game. And I understand that criticism. Like, it's hard to speak of a game when you've only had such a uh, small sample of what might be. But at the same time, I think that there has to be something on the dev side that you have to give a gamer. Just, I like the idea of an optional easy mode. I was throwing out, just thinking of ways where you could improve the game, or at the very least, checkpoint system. And again, you can make these type of things optional. I don't think it would break the bank for a developer.
So
It's not what they want to do, I'm sure, but give your people a chance is what I'm saying.
it makes me think that the game must be really short.
Hmm.
If it's that hard starting out, they're probably trying to make it a lengthy experience. When if they reduce the difficulty level, I bet you would just, beat it in like an hour, and then, people would feel ripped off or something. So I imagine it was a conscious choice, and that's why I really wish we could have beaten it, so we could actually understand their thinking more. Because I'm not even sure how much content's in this game. Because if there's not much, then it would make a little bit more sense. And I do think you have to go down back to the price point too, and that's, I think, the main defense of this game is that it is $5, and it's still entertaining.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is more than you can expect from a lot of $5 games. I don't feel ripped off, even as frustrated as I got. For $5 worth of entertainment, it feels fair, and I do think you got to take that into consideration.
So I'm looking here at just doing a little search now about when the game was released originally. So we're looking at January 31st of 2017 for a PC release, because I wanted to check out Steam, and now that I've given my thoughts, figure out what other people think. Now, can you give a little guess about what the star rating is on Steam? I think they do out of 5-star, if I'm not mistaken.
Do what they do out of 5?
Yeah.
Shoot, I'm not familiar enough with their rating system.
Well,
I would think it maybe would get a 3.
Yeah,
maybe.
so it's sitting at a 4. It's sitting with nothing but positive reviews that I see on there. Super interesting.
We're just not good enough.
Yeah, so it could just be us. If you like games that are really going to make you test your twitch reflexes, and you don't mind games like PaperBoy, because that's what I was hoping to do. I was never good at the game. So I just figured, hey, let's give it a shot now. Maybe as I wasn't as good as a young child playing Paperboy games when they came out, but maybe I could do better this time. Fun fact, I can't. I'm still bad. So it's just it's not working out. But I'm sure that this has an audience. If you're super down on 80s stuff, you're going to like what you see,
if you like
rolling down the
Paperboy,
street.
1980s, and like Minecraft art style. And I bet you those ratings too had to do with how much people were paying for it, especially with Steam, because there's even more shovelware on Steam in that price range. So I bet you a lot of people bought it expecting it just to be the worst thing ever, and then were pleasantly surprised that it was at least entertaining.
Yeah, very, very interesting.
Yeah.
So again, on this one, I would give an overall, I would avoid it. It's just not a gem, put it that way. Not in my book anyway. And would you agree? I mean, let's do a star rating. What do we do? How do we rate things? Every week I forget. All right,
I can't remember for out of 5 or out of 10.
I'm gonna make one up right now. Is it? Someone text Clay. All right. So I'm not gonna recommend. If we were doing out of a 5-star, I'm gonna give it like a 2. I'll give it a passable 2.
2. I'd give it a 3. I think 3 out of 5.
You're so generous.
Generous. I will say, it's hard for me to not take the price into consideration. Like, if we were lived in like a post-capitalist world where the price didn't matter, I would say not recommend. But the fact that it's $5,
Hmm.
and let's say you're looking for, you've decided you're going to buy a $5 game, I do think this would be on one of the top of your options.
Yeah.
So it depends on your needs. If you really want to buy something for $5, I do think I'd recommend it. But if you're looking for a big game that's going to be immensely entertaining, I would not recommend it.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us today, everybody. If you listen to the show, we really appreciate it. Really appreciate your time, you checking in with us, valuing our opinion, and again, even if we're completely wrong all the time, and you're just listening to us, so you know to do the opposite of what we say. Thank you very much as well. This is a very interesting game. Pick it up if you got the scratch, and we'll see you next time because soon Nintendo Online is going to be releasing all the retro games that you get with that. Plus, the holiday season is fast approaching, and we have to figure out what to buy and play so we can give our 2 cents to kind of help you guys out, inform your purchasing decision as well. Thank you very much, everybody. See you next time.